The Niners offseason is officially underway, and it feels like every single part of this team is under a microscope right now. From roster decisions to cap space to coaching, nothing is off limits. But there's one conversation that keeps popping up everywhere, and it's the one nobody expected to be having. Did the 49ers choose the right quarterback? I know, even saying that out loud feels strange. Brock Purdy is our guy, Mr. Irrelevant turned franchise quarterback, the player who walked in as the last pick in the draft and walked out leading playoff runs, winning big games, and giving this fan base real hope again. But at the same time, Sam Darnold, a former for nine, is now marching his way to the Super Bowl playing some of the best football of his career. And suddenly, fans and analysts alike are asking uncomfortable questions. So today, I want to dive into this honestly, without hot takes, without fake outrage, and without pretending the conversation doesn't exist. We're going to talk Brock Purdy versus Sam Darnold. We're going to look at their journeys, their numbers, their situations, and what all of this means for the future of the San Francisco 49ers. Before we get deep into it, if you're a die-hard Niners fan like me and you want more real conversations like this all off-season long, do me a quick favor and hit subscribe right now. We're pushing toward 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and every single one of you helps get us there. And while you're at it, tap that like button so more Niners fans can find this video. Alright, quick question for you before we go any further right now. Gut reaction only. Type Purdy or Darnold in the comments. Don't overthink it. Just tell me who you'd rather have leading this team moving forward. The reason this debate even exists is because of how dramatically different their stories are. Brock Purdy is the ultimate underdog. Sam Darnold was supposed to be the golden child. A top draft pick, massive expectations, and all the physical tools in the world. And yet here we are, years later, watching Darnold thrive on another team while Purdy faces questions about durability, supporting cast, and long-term ceiling. Some people are calling it ridiculous to even compare them. Others are saying the 49ers might have signed the wrong quarterback. And whether you agree with that or not, it's a conversation that deserves a real breakdown instead of emotional reactions. Because here's the truth, both quarterbacks have talent, both have shown they can win, and both have been shaped heavily by the environments they landed in. And that's where this whole thing really starts to get interesting. In the next part, I want to rewind the clock and walk through Sam Darnold's journey. From being a highly drafted prospect with Andrew Luck comparisons to getting thrown into some of the worst quarterback situations in football to finally landing in a system that lets him breathe and play free. Once you understand what Darnold went through, it completely changes how you look at what he's doing right now. Sam Darnold entered the league with expectations that most quarterbacks never experience. He wasn't some late-round flyer or developmental project. He was the number 3 overall pick, a highly regarded prospect out of USC, and many evaluators believed he had everything you'd want in a franchise quarterback. Big arm, strong frame, mobility, leadership traits. Some draft profiles even compared him to Andrew Luck, calling him a physically gifted passer who just needed the right coaching and structure to become elite. But almost immediately, things started going sideways. Darnold landed with the Jets, and if you followed the NFL long enough, you already know how that story usually goes. Young quarterbacks go there, and instead of being developed, they get thrown into chaos. Bad offensive lines, constant coaching changes, no stability. Darnold's head coach was Todd Bowles, and then they brought in Adam Gase to run the offense. Adam Gase, who somehow kept getting chances around the lead, despite leaving struggling quarterbacks and broken offenses everywhere he went. So here's Sam Darnold, a 21-year-old quarterback, expected to carry a franchise while learning a new system and working behind shaky protection with inconsistent weapons and questionable play calling. That's not development, that's survival mode. And it didn't get much better after that. Darnold eventually moved on to Carolina, where he played under Matt Rule, a college coach trying to run an NFL operation. Different scheme, different philosophy, same result, no continuity, no patience, no real plan. At that point, the league had already started to label him bust, washed, another Jets quarterback who never figured it out. Quick yes or no for you right here. Do you think coaching ruined Sam Darnold early in his career? Type YES if you think bad coaching held him back, or nitrogen monoxide if you think he just wasn't good. Enough, because this is where things finally change. Darnold eventually finds his way to the 49ers organization, and for the first time in his career, he's surrounded by real structure. A respected head coach, a proven system, a locker room full of talent. Even though his time in San Francisco was short, it mattered. He learned what a professional operation looks like. He saw how preparation works. He experienced what it's like to be part of a winning culture, and then he lands in Minnesota, under Kevin Stefanski, and everything clicks. Suddenly, Sam Darnold looks like the quarterback scouts believed in years ago. He's calm in the pocket, he's making confident reads. He's protecting the football, and most importantly, he's winning. His team goes 14-3, and now he's leading a Super Bowl run while playing lights-out football. Let that sink in for a second. A quarterback who many fans had completely written off is now one game away from a championship. Over the past 2 seasons, Darnold has put up a passer rating over 100. He's thrown for more than 8,300 yards, 60 touchdowns, and yes, there have been interceptions, but nothing outrageous. About 13 per season. More importantly, he's been available. He's played all 17 games in back-to-back seasons. That matters. Availability matters, especially in this league. And he's doing it with a stacked roster around him. 2 explosive running backs, one of the best young wide receivers in football. A proven veteran receiver who's already won a Super Bowl and a Triple Crown, solid tight end play, a strong defense that gives him chances. This is what happens when a talented quarterback finally gets real support. If you've made it this far, go ahead and tap like on this video. It tells YouTube this breakdown is worth showing to other Niners fans, and it really helps the channel grow. Now, does that mean Sam Darnold is suddenly better than Brock Purdy? Not automatically. Context matters, situations matter. Supporting casts matter. But what it does prove is that Sam Darnold was never some hopeless quarterback. He was a talented player who spent years in dysfunctional systems before finally landing somewhere that let him succeed. And that's what makes this whole debate uncomfortable for 49ers fans. Because when you see Darnold thriving like this, you can't help but wonder what he might have looked like if his career had started in a place like San Francisco instead of New York. So now that we've walked through Sam Darnold's road from top draft pick to Super Bowl quarterback, it's time to flip the spotlight back to our guy. Brock Purdy, his rise, his numbers, his injuries, and why so many fans still proudly ride with him no matter what. Let's talk about Brock Purdy, because while Sam Darnold's story is about redemption, Brock Purdy's story is about belief. It's about opportunity. It's about taking the smallest opening imaginable and turning it into a career that most quarterbacks only dream of. Brock Purdy didn't come into the league with hype. He didn't have draft day celebrations or headlines calling him the future of a franchise. He was literally the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, a label that usually means you're fighting just to make a roster, let alone become a starter. And yet, here we are. From the moment Brock stepped onto the field, he showed something different: poise, confidence, command of the offense. He beat Tom Brady in his first career start. He led playoff runs. He took this team within a quarter of winning a Super Bowl. He nearly won MVP honors the following season. That's not normal. That's special, and that's why so many Niners fans are fiercely loyal to him. Statistically, Brock Purdy has been very productive. Over his last 2 seasons, he's thrown for over 6,000 yards with 40 touchdowns and 22 interceptions. His passer rating sits just under 98, which is strong by any standard. When he's on the field, the offense moves, the system works, the ball gets distributed, the team wins games. But here's where things start to get complicated: availability. Over that same stretch, Purdy has played in 24 games. Sam Darnold has played in 34. That's a 10-game difference, and in the NFL, that's massive. You can't help your team if you're not on the field, and Brock has had stretches where injuries kept him sidelined or limited. Now, I want to be clear, nobody questions Brock's toughness. The guy plays through pain, he competes, he stands in the pocket and takes hits, but durability is part of the job description for a franchise quarterback, and it's fair to ask whether that's something the 49ers need to factor into their long-term planning. Let me ask you this in one word: what does Brock Purdy mean to you? Type it in the comments right now. Stability, heart, upside, grit, injury, whatever comes to mind first. There's also the financial side of this conversation, and it matters more than most fans realize. Brock Purdy is getting paid significantly more than Sam Darnold, and that impacts everything. When your quarterback takes up more cap space, it limits how aggressive you can be in free agency. It affects who you can re-sign. It changes how deep your roster can be. Meanwhile, Darnold's contract allows his team to load up around him with weapons and defensive help. That flexibility shows up on Sundays. Now look at what Brock is dealing with moving forward. The 49ers just lost Brandon Ayuk. There's a strong chance Jawan Jennings walks. Ricky Pearsall may be stepping into a much bigger role. George Kittle's situation has been uncertain, even though recent updates suggest his Achilles injury wasn't as severe as originally feared. Still, that's not nothing. That's your safety blanket over the middle of the field. So Brock Purdy may be heading into a season where his supporting cast looks very different from what he's been used to. And that's not an excuse, that's reality. Yet even with all of that, most Niners fans still ride with Brock because he's earned it. He's shown leadership, he's shown resilience. He's delivered in big moments. He represents everything you want in a locker room. If you could ask Jed York one question about the quarterback position right now, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what this fan base would ask if given one shot. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your reminder. Help us push toward 1,000 subscribers so we can keep building this Niners community all off-season long. So now we've laid out both sides: Sam Darnold's resurgence, Brock Purdy's rise from nowhere to very different paths leading to one big question. Up next, we're putting them head-to-head: stats, supporting casts, financial realities, and whether this debate is actually fair when you break everything down. Because once you strip away the emotions, the storylines, and the loyalty we naturally feel toward our guy, what you're left with are numbers, context, and team construction, and that's where this debate really starts to take shape. Let's start with the raw production over the past 2 seasons. Sam Darnold has posted a passer rating of just over 100. He's thrown for more than 8,300 yards with 60 touchdowns and 26 interceptions across 34 games. That averages out to about 13 picks per season, which isn't perfect, but it's manageable when you're scoring at that rate. More importantly, he's been on the field every week, 17 games in back-to-back seasons. Consistency, availability. Brock Purdy, during that same window, has a passer rating just under 98. He's thrown for over 6,000 yards with 40 touchdowns and 22 interceptions in 24 games. When Brock plays, his efficiency is right there. But he's missed time, 10 fewer games than Darnold. And again, that matters. Now, stats never tell the whole story, so let's talk about the environments they're playing in. Darnold is surrounded by serious firepower to dynamic running backs who can take pressure off him, one of the best young wide receivers in football who can win at every level of the field. A veteran receiver who's already proven he can dominate in big moments, solid tight end play. And on the other side of the ball, a defense that consistently gives him short fields and extra possessions. That's a quarterback-friendly situation. Brock Purdy, meanwhile, has thrived in Kyle Shanahan's system, which deserves credit. The scheme creates opportunities, the play design gets guys open. Brock does a great job distributing the football and staying on schedule. But now that environment is changing. Brandon Ayuk is gone. Jawan Jennings may be next. Ricky Pearsall could be forced into a bigger role earlier than expected. George Kittle's health is something everyone is watching closely. So when you project forward, Brock may be stepping into a season with fewer proven weapons than he's had before. Then there's the financial reality. Sam Darnold's contract allows his team to spend aggressively everywhere else. That's how you build depth. That's how you stack your roster. That's how you survive injuries and still compete. Brock Purdy's deal limits that flexibility. It doesn't mean he's overpaid, but it does mean the margin for error is smaller. Every dollar matters, so let me throw this one directly at you. Would you trade Brock Purdy for Sam Darnold straight up if it were possible? Type yes or nitrogen monoxide in the comments. I want to see where this fan base really stands when you look at everything together. Here's the part that makes this tough. It's almost impossible to fairly compare them because they're in completely different situations. Darnold is thriving with a stacked roster and defensive support. Purdy has been thriving in a brilliant offensive system, but may soon be asked to do more with less. Swap them, and who knows what happens? Would Sam Darnold look even better in Kyle Shanahan's offense? Maybe. Would Brock Purdy thrive with Darnold's current supporting cast? Probably. That's why this debate doesn't have a clean answer. But it does force the front office to think about big picture questions. How much are you willing to pay for quarterback stability? How much risk are you comfortable taking on durability? And how do you build around your QB when cap space gets tight? If you want a deeper breakdown on the salary cap and potential off-season moves, hit like on this video. If enough of you ask for it, I'll do a full follow-up just on roster construction and financial strategy. Because when you zoom out, this isn't really about Sam Darnold versus Brock Purdy. It's about maximizing your championship window. And that brings us to the final part of this conversation. What I would do if I were running the team, why I still ride with Brock, and the big offseason questions the 49ers now have to answer. After looking at everything, the stats, the situations, the contracts, and the paths these two quarterbacks have taken, here's where I land. Despite everything Sam Darnold is doing right now, despite how impressive his resurgence has been, and despite the what-if conversations that naturally come with it, I still ride with Brock Purdy. If I were Jed York, if I were John Lynch, I would not have prioritized Sam Darnold over Brock Purdy, and that's not disrespect to Darnold at all. What he's doing deserves real credit. He fought through bad organizations, poor coaching, and years of doubt, and now he's one game away from a Super Bowl. That's an incredible story. But Brock Purdy earned this locker room. He earned this fan base. He earned the right to be the guy in San Francisco. At the same time, I do understand why this conversation exists. Availability matters. Supporting cast matter, contracts matter. And when you see Darnold playing at this level with a loaded roster around him, it forces you to think about how fragile championship windows really are. One injury, one bad offseason, one missed draft pick. Everything can change fast. The 49ers are entering a critical stretch. They've already lost Brandon Ayuk. Jawan Jennings could be next. Ricky Pearsall may be stepping into a much bigger role. George Kittle's health will be watched closely. And Brock Purdy could be heading into a season where he's asked to carry more than he ever has before. That's the real story here. It's not Brock versus Sam. It's whether the front office can build the right team around Brock Purdy moving forward. So here are my questions for you, and I really want you to sound off in the comments. First, quick vote. Would you keep Brock Purdy as your franchise quarterback moving forward? Yes or no? Second, put yourself in John Lynch's shoes. If you could make one move this offseason, what would it be? A trade, a free agent signing, a draft priority, lay it out for me. I'm going to read through these and highlight some of the best answers in the next video. And here's one more for you. Do the Niners trade Mac Jones this offseason, or do you keep him around considering Brock's injury history? Let me know what you do. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more honest Niners conversations like this, help us hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video so more for Niners fans can find the channel. This community keeps growing because of you. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. I appreciate you spending part of your day with me, and I'll see you in the next video.